and I gotta tell you guys, there's more ins and outs of this. So we're gonna kind of give you like the basic understanding of buying a house, so you kind of know what's going on. But there's different things that happen in the life of a mortgage. Like you say, okay, I'm gonna take 25 years to pay my mortgage back, but then every 5 years you might go back to the bank and say, hey, can I get a better interest rate? Still means you're gonna pay over 25 years, but every 5 years you're gonna kind of like go back and review it and stuff like that. And then there's different types of mortgages. So we're gonna do our best to give you the most general kind of, because it's hard when it's not really specific. So we'll give it to you generally, and hopefully you'll take this and be able to apply it when you guys come to buy a house or not buy a house. If you maybe want to rent forever, or you want to buy a condo and stuff like that, like you'll still have to pay a mortgage. Renting is different, and we'll talk about renting versus buying later on. I think that's lesson 21, just kind of like the benefits and drawbacks. Just like leasing and buying a car, it's the exact same situation. Neither one is bad, and neither one's the right answer. It's what works for you right now. And I rented for a really, really long time. Okay, amortization period. That's the length in years that you'll need to pay off your mortgage. So you commit to paying your mortgage off, and they're usually like 20, 25 years, okay? Usually that's the length of them. You can do it shorter. And they go in 5-year increments, but I think you can change that. But most of them give you the breakdown per like 5-year bracket. So 5 years, 10 years, 15, that sort of thing. Equity is the portion of the value of the property that you own. You own it. So it's how much money you have out of your pocket invested in this property. Now that's not fixing it up or painting it or fixing the fence or anything like that. It's if the house costs $200,000, how much money did you actually pay to that $200,000? Because I don't know about you guys, but I definitely don't have $200,000 sitting in my bank account just to go out and buy a house in cash.
So would that become like a down payment?
Exactly. Yep. But you're going to build your equity every month, because your monthly payments, some of it will go towards your interest, and that's the bank's fee for lending you the money, and some of it will go towards what's the principal, and that's how much the house is worth. So it starts with your down payment, but you're going to build your equity, and when that house is paid off, when your mortgage is paid off, you've actually paid off the value of the house. The interest is the finance charge, or how much extra money you pay the bank to borrow the money. Now, maybe it might not be the bank, it might be family, it might be another lending institution, but most of the time we get our mortgages from the bank. Principal. The amount, where's my cheat sheet here? I wrote it all down. I wrote it down so I wouldn't have to scramble, and now I can't find my notes. The principal is the amount owing on the mortgage. How much do you still owe? How much do you still owe on the mortgage? Oh, hang on. I'm going to change that. The amount... So how much did you originally borrow? So if the house was $2,000 and you're going to put $10,000 down on it, then you have $190,000 is your principal amount. That's what you're borrowing from the bank. And we call that the mortgage amount. So that's what we're taking the mortgage out for. We're borrowing $190,000 from the bank. And the unpaid balance is the portion of the value of your property that you still owe. That's owing to the institution. So how much did you borrow and how much have you paid back? Like if you borrow 20 bucks from me and you pay me back $5 a week, after the first week, borrowed 20, after the first week, you still owe me 15, right? So we're gonna be dealing in very big numbers. Okay, so here we go. If we buy a house for $200,000 and we make a down payment of $20,000, how much do I have to borrow? How much is my mortgage? How much do I have to borrow from the bank? $180,000. So we're saying to the bank, hey, I got 20 grand in my bank account that I want to put down on this house. It costs $200,000. Can you cover me for what's left? Okay, so this would be the price of the house minus the down payment. Oh, you guys can't read that, sorry. Price of the house minus the down payment, because that's your money. That's what's sitting in your bank account today, 20 grand. You're gonna put that down on your house. Now so the house is 200,000. Out of that 200,000, how much do you own right now on day one? How much did you contribute? 20,000. That's the money you put in, the 20,000. So equity is the property that you own. So you don't own that house yet. You own $20,000 worth of that house. That like you live in it. Yeah. You own a small shed in the backyard. That's what you own. Maybe a sink, but no toilet yet. We're gonna get there after the first month. Okay, what's the unpaid balance? So what do you still owe the bank at day one? You owe them what you borrowed, right? You owe them that $180,000. And so the idea is you build up your equity and you lower what you owe the bank. And that would be nice if there was no cost of borrowing, if there was no interest. But the trouble is that you're gonna end up paying some to what you owe the bank, and then you're gonna pay a lot in interest. Okay, so like I said, there's different kind of mortgages. I briefly talked about that before. So a closed mortgage, it does not allow payments. Oh, sorry. This should say extra payments. So closed mortgage, you're on the schedule. They tell you you pay monthly or weekly or whatever, but it doesn't allow you. Let's say you came into some money. Let's say you won the lottery and you want to pay your mortgage off, or you want to put some money down. You won like $1,000, or you worked a bunch of overtime and now you've got some extra money. A closed mortgage doesn't let you put extra payments on it.
What's the reasoning behind
Because the bank, this guarantees the bank a certain amount of money over the term. Because the faster you pay off the mortgage, the less time they have to charge you interest. Okay, an open mortgage allows additional payments on the principal. So that's what we had. We had an open mortgage, and once a year, we could put a certain amount down, like a lump sum, and it would go directly to the principal, which was awesome. So every year I had to save my pennies, and I had to build up in a separate account so I didn't spend it, so that I could pay down my mortgage once a year in a big lump sum. I think I put like $12,000 down a year on top of my mortgage payments. Okay, so that's the kind of open and closed mortgages. Can I pay extra? Fixed rate mortgages. So the fixed rate is a mortgage with an interest rate that's locked in, so for a specific period of time. And most people go with this. That's usually, because if the interest rates are really good, that means the interest rates are low, you're going to pay a low percentage back. You want to lock that in. You want to say, hey, I want to lock in that 5%. I know that for the next 5 years, I'm going to pay 5% in interest. And then the variable does exactly what it says. The mortgage where interest rates may change. So they change month to month. So 1 month you might be paying 5% in interest. The next month you might be paying 13% in interest. Yep. Owing. So again, kind of like the car payments, not a lot of hard math like trigonometry or stats. It's more knowing when to apply what where. So, and lots of new words like amortization. Who uses that word? Well, us now, right? So those are going to be the kind of the things that are difficult in this unit. Okay. So at the back of your booklet, you have a bunch of tables. And what you need today is the one listed on page 41. The amortization, you need this one. So I don't know if you want to rip it out. I don't know if that's a good idea because there's other stuff on the other side that we need. Or if you want to leave it in here, but you're going to be flipping back and forth. So you're looking for page 41, the amortization of loans. I can actually go photocopy one for you too if you want it separate. So you have one just kind of floating around on your desk because I know that's what I did. Okay, here it is. Okay, so I have my table 6 just floating around, the amortization of mortgages. I got to go back to what we were working on. Okay, so what we're going to do, just like we did for interest rates on the cars, we're going to do the same sort of thing. So we need to find the monthly payment for a $75,000 mortgage. Now remember, mortgage is the amount you owe that you're borrowing from the bank. So if I'm using that word, if I'm using the amount, if the mortgage, you know that that's what you're taking out from the bank. You're mortgaging $75,000. Okay, so you are going to do an amortization period of 25 years at an interest rate of 6.75. Okay, so we go to this table. And in this table, we look for our interest rate, and our interest rate was 6.75. That's not the best ruler. There's my purple one. Okay, 6.75. So I found my interest rate in the table right here, and I'm amortizing it for 25 years. So I'm paying $6.85 for every $1,000 I borrow. Okay? So this table is for every $1,000 of my loan. So that's how I read that table. Super similar to the same way we did the vehicle. So we need that. So I'm going to put that off to the side. So what we need is we need to take our $6.85 and we're going to times it by the 75,000, but then we're going to divide that by 1,000 because it's per $1,000. $6.85 per 1,000 we borrow. Now you could do the 75,000 divided by 1,000 off in the corner, get 75. That's fine too. So I'm going to take my 685 and I'm going to times it by the 75,000, and I'm going to get $513,750 divided by 1,000, and I'm going to get $513.75 per month. So that's my monthly payment on that mortgage. And in some cases, you'll hear people say this. Sometimes it's cheaper to own a house than it is to rent, right? I don't know how many of us are getting a house for $75,000 in Thompson. But there's a lot of other costs that come with owning a house. So people say that kind of willy-nilly, but there's all the maintenance and stuff like that. In an apartment, you don't have to pay for that maintenance. If your roof leaks, somebody else takes care of that. If you own a house and your roof leaks, guess who takes care of that? You do. So you'll hear people say like it's cheaper to buy the house, and yeah, but then there's all kinds of extra costs that go with it.
You also get locked down.
You've committed, right? Like you've committed for that big chunk of time to pay that off. Now that doesn't mean, so what happens, oftentimes people sell their house without it paid off. And so what they do is they sell the house, half of the or however much is still owed to the bank gets paid to the bank, and then you get what's left over. So you can still sell a house that you still owe money on, okay? Like you're not trapped in that house for 25 years. Like you get a new job, but if you don't sell that house, because we know sometimes in Thompson, our real estate goes in waves. Like sometimes they sell, sometimes they don't sell. So if you don't sell your house, you still have to pay a mortgage on it. And if you've already moved, then you need somewhere else to live, and you're paying a mortgage on a house that you haven't sold yet. So you're responsible for it still. Okay, so here's the big long one, and this is kind of all the pieces put together. A couple purchased a home for $160,000. Notice the language. They purchased a home. It doesn't say they took a mortgage out for $160,000. So what that's telling me is the house cost $160,000. They made a down payment of $35,000. If they negotiated a mortgage of 7.25 over 25 years, calculate the amount they need to borrow. So that's going to be the house price minus the down payment. So we're going to have $160,000 minus $35,000 of their own money, and we should get $125,000. So that's what they need for their mortgage. That's what they're asking the bank for. We're saying, hey bank, can you do us a solid and lend us $125,000? And depending on what you guys, like when we talk about building up credit, like so if you have a credit card or you're putting money away, they're looking at how reliable you are, how trustworthy you are to pay that money back. So if you do get a credit card, it's great because it does build your credit. It shows the bank that you're trustworthy, but I would really encourage you to make sure you pay it off every month, because they calculate interest daily for the balances that you haven't paid, and their daily interest rate is like 29%. So that's super expensive. Yeah.
So what I would recommend is if you're using a credit card to pay it back throughout the month, not just at the end of the month.
Yep, for sure. If
You're not just spending and still having the money, but putting it aside and still like paying it all.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about credit cards. There's no penalty for paying multiple times, and you're building your credit. You're showing the bank that you're trustworthy to pay the money back. And when you build credit, then they're going to be like, oh yeah, look, she's had a credit card for this long, and she's never missed a payment. She's never had to pay interest, or she doesn't have to do that very often. Or if you get a line of credit, if you're going to go to school and stuff like that, making sure you pay back your loans on the regular payment schedule. That's what they're looking for. So whether or not the bank approves you is based on how trustworthy and your history of paying money back. Okay, monthly mortgage payment. This is where we go to the table. Okay, you need to go to the table for this. So this is where we're going for the 7.25% over the 25 years. So I'm going back to my table and grab my purple ruler, 7.25. And I do like to use a ruler because I mess this up all the time. My eyes don't see straight. So I go across here and we said for 25 years. So we're going to be paying $7.16 per $1,000 borrowed. So I will remove that. So I got to remember 716. So 716 is from the table times by my mortgage that I need to borrow from the bank divided by 1,000. $895,000. You okay? Okay. 1,000. If I do that, then that's going to give me $895 monthly. So again, not super different than what we did. These tax tables are old. I just want to tell you that. They're like from 2012. We just kind of consistently use these ones, but your bank would have updated ones. So when they're figuring it out, they have it all digitized and it's put into a program. We're doing, like, we don't have access to that, so we're doing it old school with our table. Okay. The amount of interest they would pay over the life of the mortgage. Okay, life of the mortgage is 25 years because that's our amortization period. Now we're going to assume, this is where the simplicity comes in, we're going to assume that they're going to hold that interest rate of 7.25 for the whole 25 years. And chances are you're going to negotiate it at different points, but we're not going to get too complicated because that's a lot of math. So what we do is we take our monthly payment, $895, and that's per month. So we're going to times it by 12, and we're going to times it by 25. So we get 12 months in a year. And the 25 is our amortization. It's very similar, but we're dealing with big money, and if I multiply those, that's $268,500. So over 25 years, you're going to pay the bank $268,500, assuming everything stays the same. But that's not what this question asks. It asks about the interest. How much have we paid in interest? So what we do is we take our total, $268,500, what we've paid over 25 years, and how much did we borrow from the bank? Like way back in the beginning. $125,000. So this is the principal amount. That's what you asked for in the very beginning. And if we subtract those, $143,500. This is what you've paid in interest. So you've paid more to the bank in interest than you did in the money you borrowed from them. But I think we're all kind of stuck in this. I don't know. I'm not independently wealthy. I still have to work. But none of us have like that 100 and something thousand in our bank accounts to buy. So we're all doing mortgages. I don't know very many people who buy a house in cash. Amortization. It's on the very first one on the terms.
Did that say months?
Months in a year, 12 months in a year. So this is always going to be 12 because this is your monthly payments. Sorry, that says monthly payments. So you're paying $8.95 a month, 12 times a year, and you're going to do it for the 25 years, the amortization period. So it's a little shocking. All right. Okay, so how do we calculate the amount of interest you pay on that very first payment? Super easy. 7.65, 7.25? Where's the 7.65 coming from?
I went from 1.6 from that's how much it is per thousand, or is that
But that's everything. So that 716 is both paying into your principal and paying into your interest. So that's actually a good point. This $7.16, part of it goes to the interest and part of it goes to paying back your principal. So in that $7.16, you're paying some of it to interest and some of it to principal. So it's a combination of both of them. So this is how you do it to figure out the interest per payment. So you take how much you borrowed. So you take 125,000 and you times it by the interest rate. But you got to take the interest rate, 0.25, and change it into a decimal. Okay? So this is your interest rate. So I want you to take your interest rate and change it into a decimal, which we did like way back in Unit 1. So that's going to give us 0.0725. That's going to go in there. And we're going to figure out that amount. And so that's $9,062.50. So we want to figure out what it's going to be in that first month. So how many months are in a year? 12. So we're going to divide that by 12. And so that works out to be, here, let me draw a line here. That works out to be $755.21. So how much do you pay a month? How much is your monthly payment according to the chart? It's the answer for part B. $895. So your monthly payment was $895, and of that $755.21 goes to interest. So that's just what we pay to the bank for the privilege of letting us borrow the money. So how much am I putting on the principal? So I would take $895 and I'd minus the interest from it. $755.21 and $139.75 goes to the principal. So out of that $895, a little tiny bit is going to pay off what you actually owe. And then $755.21 is for the kindness of the bank to loan you the money. So buying a house is a big deal. And the reason why it takes 25 years is because of this. So you have to pay back $125,000 because you got to pay this back. But out of each payment, a big chunk of it, the majority of it goes towards paying the interest. Mm-hmm. And so you can put 5% down, 10% down, 15, 20, but 5 is the minimum. So if you want to buy a $200,000 house, you're looking at putting 5% down. Let's do the math on that. 200,000. I think that's enough zeros. So you would have to have 10 grand in the bank to at least put down on the house. 5 is your minimum amount. Okay, see, it is a lot. It's a lot to take in. Okay, so that's it. And you got 4 questions for your assignment. So I'm guessing you can probably get them done this period.